Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today's video combines a couple of requests that I've had. One is to use the castle art pencils, and the other request was to see a page done from Corlon Douglas's Dream World, published by Black River Arts. This is the first Dream World. It's on the Amazon paper, and so because of that I've got a few sheets of paper in behind it to stop the print going through or transferring or scratching the next page, and we'll have a look and see what we think of this. I know a lot of people don't like the much darker grayscale, especially on Double Trouble, which is the Amazon paper. But I have done pictures in these before and haven't minded them at all. I'm not sure I've used my castle arts for one though, so we'll see how that goes. I've picked out a few different shades of each colour that I want, as I always do, and the colours I'm using today will be in the description below just in case anyone is interested. I think we'll start with the greens. I've pulled Leaf Green Light 061, Sap Green 113 and Green Gold 076 with some Viridian 052, and we'll see which ones of those we use. I think I'm going to take, as always with the grayscale, you're better off laying a very pale colour over the top of everything. So I'm going to use the Leaf Green Light 061 first, and I think it'd be quite nice to start with this lily pad that this little house seems to live on. So I'm just going to pop a very light layer, extremely light. The only downside with the real downside with Amazon print paper is that it will not accept a lot of layers, and you don't want to run out before you've got your colours down the way that you want them, and the only way to combat this is to pop very light colour on. So I'm going to take that everywhere on the leaf. Now hopefully I've got a new light today that I got for filming, and I finally managed to find a way to pop my camera arm on something that is not my table. So I'm hoping you will not see any jumping around or wobbling today because of that. So hopefully the quality is better. So I'm working my way along this leaf. You'll notice I haven't coloured in the veins yet, and that's mainly because I just haven't decided what I want to do with them. I'm thinking quite likely they're going to be this very pale green, so I probably will end up covering them, but for now. Doesn't matter how patchy it looks with your first layers, as that doesn't really matter. Just going to distinguish this the edge of this leaf by way along in the other direction. Give that a very clear, sharp edge. And then we have layer 1, palest colour. So I'm now actually going to go to my darkest colour. Not everybody will do it this way, and you to find the way you find it comfortable to colour. I'm going to use the viridian, which is a very dark green, and I want to pop my darkness back in quite early on. So I'm only going over the very darkest parts of that grayscale, and I do this at this stage with these because they've got a layer of ink on already. As you start to build your colours up over the top, it just becomes quite difficult to distinguish between where the different shades were as you pop new colour on top. So I find it easier to pop my darkness back down. And then shade back down to the lighter colours. Because as you can see, even with that, excuse me, just that pale layer that we popped on, it's just harder to distinguish where the truly dark was. The beauty I find with grayscale, and to be honest, I mean, if you don't like this kind of grayscale, probably a lighter tone version would be more to more people's tastes. But the beauty of these is actually, once you start working with them, people think that they're difficult, but they're actually easier than line art, because most of the job's already done for you. You're just adding the colours it's told you to over the top: dark, medium, light, light, medium. And it will always just create this beautiful set of colours and tones and shades and hues for you. You could literally just pop a green over all of this if you wanted to. In a marker, works better if you're doing that, and you would have all the colours already in for you without even bothering to do all this. It's only for the crazy pencil lovers. I'm not mocking you, by the way, I'm a crazy pencil lover myself. So I've then got this medium sap, slightly dark medium sap green, 113, and just now going to work in the areas between that very pale green and that darker green that we put on. Probably bring some onto this edge. And the thing with veins, because they're not actually flat to the leaf, they create a shadow. So I'm also just going to pop this slightly darker green behind these veins, just to add some texture, and it will give the illusion of some depth. You'll have to let me know if I'm right and my camera's staying still. I forget to look. So now we're just coming into all that medium grey. And again, just bringing a line behind that white veining. And I'm going to go along the edge of this lighter. I'm assuming the leaf has curled back on itself, and that's why we've got this lighter edge. So again, I'm just going to distinguish the inside of that. Don't worry, I know I've covered over some of this grass, but we'll flick that in with something darker later if we need to. Oh, nearly threw my pencils on the floor. So you can just start to see, you know, a little bit of depth to everything. And we're just adding different tones of green to create the illusion there's more going on there than just a flat green circle. I've then got, I've selected green gold 076, and this is a warmer green, like a yellow green. And again, I'm just going to come into some of this slightly darker, and I'm going to bring it out a little bit further into the paler green. And I'm doing this mainly because, well, it just adds another tone to the the leaf. Nothing in nature is flat or the same colour. But also we don't want too much highlight because we're going to be a night picture. For me, this is going to be a moon. So we're just selecting some of those slightly less light patches just to add in this other green. Again, the beauty of it being everything's done for you, the very pale patches or the lightest colour, and you just work around them. I'll pop a bit of that warmth underneath these veins. So I'm tempted to do a yellow or green for the vein. Obviously these vein lines are very white on the page, so that is what he meant them to be. I'm just going to go with that dark viridian again a little bit just here, just to cover up a bit more of this white. I will of course add more layers to the colours I've laid down after. Just want you to know where everything goes. Right, no, I think we'll take the leaf green light, leaf green light, not life, leaf green light. We'll give it a nice point, so we'll sharpen it. And we'll very cleanly draw in those veins. I'm pressing a bit harder now, because I'm not going to layer that, I'm going to pop it all in at once. And just create those veins. I'm already burnishing, just going over it a few times so that that colour is solid and done. I want to do the same a little bit to some of this light edge. And then I'm going back in with the dark green. Make sure you should use your brush really, you don't want to be pushing your pencil into your page or smudging the ink sometimes with your oily hands. I'm just going to redistinguish the darkness that we added above some of those veins. And again then my mid green, the sap green, just to finish off some of these final green patches that when you look at them you think that needs a bit more colour, needs to be darker, it's missing a bit. Just add it in over the top. And of course, because a lot of that grey is already there, it makes it look like you've used a lot more colour than you have. I try and make it, I don't burnish with these kind of pictures because I found, blend should I say, I don't really use a blender pencil or anything because I found it gets very mucky, the ink underneath moves, and I prefer the look of almost this dappled effect. Don't know if you can see what I mean, but there we go, you can still see some of the ink itself on the page. I prefer that look than to be smudging and smearing the ink just to get a smoother blend. That rough texture does not bother me at all. So that is our leaf done. I think I want to try and do as many different things as possible. So now we've done that, we'll try the water. To show a different technique, we will again do this slightly differently. So I've selected 048 cobalt turquoise. For my dark, I've gone with 044 ultramarine. And then I've chosen quite a dark but greenier, warmer blue, the 103 cypress green. The one thing I will say, and cerulean blue 100, about the Castle Art set, which I love, they were pretty much one of the first sets I got, and I love them. I've got the big 120 set. They don't have a very pale blue, you know, like your powder blue that you get in Prisma, and even the really nice pale blue you get in the Brute Funa. The palest blue in the Castle Arts is pretty much this slightly mid-tone blue. So this time I'm only going to pop my pale colour over the paler patches of the water. And we'll try it this way. So you really need to do your best to, with these kind of pictures, just have a little look and distinguish. Sometimes it's hard, it can be a little bit harder to tell what you've got on your page, and these little patches to me are leaves floating on the water, so it doesn't matter too much. You can sharpen them up after, but try and get as little, sorry I'm in the way, aren't I, as little colour on the things that shouldn't have it as you can. And I'm just going to pop this nice light blue, well lightish, the lightest we've got, on this pale patch of water that's obviously reflected from the moonlight above. To be honest, it works out alright because it is a night scene. We don't really need a wondrously dark patch of pale patch of blue, and of course you can always add your white. But to be honest, because it is night time, apart from where the light's hitting the water here, I'm going to go a bit darker than I would, because your colour choices and your tones should actually reflect the page in its entirety. So you do kind of need to decide before you're starting whether you are day or night, a red sunset, early evening, because it would make a difference to the colours on your page. So again, I'm now going to go to my darkest blue. It's a slightly purpley blue, ultramarine light 044. And again, it can get a bit tricky this. You have to just kind of decide where the edging is going to be. I'm going to pop a very slight dark edge up here, because this is actually not the darkest part of the water. Over here is. I'm going to pop a little underneath the shadow, because if you look, this leaf looks like it comes upwards with the colours we've made it. So just to emphasise that and create that illusion even further, you pop the darker blue and create some shadow underneath it, and when it's done it will look raised. And we do that everywhere the darker colour sits, just kind of blending it out this time a little bit. I do want to blend it more. It is water, it would be smoother than a leaf, especially as kind of still as this water looks to be. So again, darker in this edge, I want a nice crisp edge to it, and then a bit less pressure and a bit less and a bit less, just bringing it out, just to get our blend so that the next colour sits nicely on top of it and it will blend in. If this was more expensive paper and these were I don't know, say your Caran d'Ache pencils. I haven't used Caran d'Ache, so I don't really know, but they're supposed to be very good, so we'll go with those. Would this be easier? Yes. Would you possibly be able to create a better artwork? Maybe. Maybe it's more that you could create the better artwork a little bit quicker. But can you, on your cheap Create Space paper, with a budget pencil, create a beautiful picture? Yes. The answer is yes. If you spend a little bit of time and you have the patience and you enjoy it, because let's be honest, if you're not enjoying it, go do something else. It's a hobby. It's supposed to bring joy. It should not be causing you stress. You know, there's a lot of different mediums and types of pencils and pens and gel pens and different artists and different kinds of drawings, and you will quickly find the ones that you prefer. If you're anything like me, it's a large number of different things is what I prefer. So I'm going to bring out my dark green again, because I just want to, just because the shadow is very dark this side, I'm actually going to intensify the green layer over here. And because they're both so dark, it will then match the blue. And of course just leaving these bits, because these are the reeds here. You want to be careful not to be popping such a dark colour over that. When you're unsure of things, leave it for now. Do it later when it becomes clearer. Just take my medium tone, the sap green, because I missed a bit here. There we go, right. Back to the dark. In hindsight, because, you know, I don't bother to swatch my pencils before I start, which is probably a good idea. I want a slightly darker blue. So it's not the end of the world. I'm going to go back to my pencils and I'm going to pull Indigo Light 045, which is a darker tone, and I'm just going to pop some of that along the edge of there to see if I like it. Yeah, I like that, that's better. That other one was rather a rich, nice blue, which is lovely, and I probably incorporate it into my watercolours, but not really appropriate for the shadow I'm trying to create. So this is a darker, colder tone. That will give depth instead of brightness. Again, just going over what I'd laid down and then feathering it back out a little. So my darker section is the edge against that lily pad, and then just blending it out a little. What I might actually do, because that has created such a lovely colour, and it will of course now be, because it is a mixture of those two colours, I'll probably lay that down in the same way for the rest of my darkest shadow. So what I'll then do is take the ultramarine light again, ultramarine light, and where my darkest shadow is down here, about halfway, because we're getting a bit lighter, I will lay that down first, following the darkest patch of water. Give it a nice sharp line against those reeds if you can, just to really distinguish your edge. Just going to fade that out a little bit. Then I'm going to pop the darker colour over the top, the indigo light. And we're just continuing to do this really. So what we've actually got is almost a little bit of a rippling effect. So I'm going to take the lighter, not the pale blue we used, but a lighter blue, a cerulean blue 100, and I'm going to just pop in these paler patches. Doesn't matter if it's too light, I can of course add a slightly darker tone over it after. It's just to pick up these little ripples of lighter colour on the page. Make this water a bit more interesting. I think we're kind of the same over here where some of the light is still affecting the water. A little bit here. And again, it always looks more difficult than it is. I am just picking out light grey, slightly less light grey. We've got medium grey that I've left, and dark. So this patch of very dark water here, I will again take my two blues that I've now created for my dark shadow. So the ultramarine light first. So this time it's not against the edge of anything. I'm going to start in the middle where it would be darker, and I will fade it out. Out to the left, and then out downwards and out upwards, because it will give you this darker patch in the middle, but then a lighter blend to be able to bring your other colours into it. And we can start to join our different colours up then. So the darker blue again, just for the middle of that, and fading out, up and out and down and left. So this time we've used this border as our edge, but you can do that the same in the middle if you need to. Just fade out around your dark centre. So I'm going to take that nice kind of warmer blue that I picked, the cypress green 103, and I'm going to use that in between that, which one was it, the cerulean blue and this pairing of darker blues as my kind of transition colour between the two now. And bringing it slightly over both, just to bring everything together. Obviously I'm popping it a bit more on the darker tone and being a lot more light on the lighter tone of it. And just starting to use this to bring my colours together. Probably going to use a little here. Be careful if you colour in a different direction, don't put too much pressure on, you don't want it to be too obvious. You've got a line going a different way. And then go back over it. If you were a professional, you would of course be hatching and cross-hatching your pictures for texture. But I'm not a professional. I'm a hobbyist. So I colour a page that looks pleasing to my eye rather than anything correct to the way it should be. And I'm just showing you the way I do things, not the way things should be done. Just because I found learning these things a lot easier through these types of videos. And to be honest, I enjoy watching these types of videos, so I do try and make the sort of content that I as a hobbyist enjoy, so that hopefully that is what other hobbyists will enjoy as well. I'm going to pop just some blue. I'm not bothering about the fact that I'm going over the grass. I'm laying a very slight amount of blue to get it on, and just to cover the grey, and I will sort the grass out later, so it will look right then. So we're laying that blue everywhere that we've got left, basically, because that is pretty much I left all the mid-tone. And the beauty of it being a slightly greener blue, it shouldn't matter too much that it is laid over that grass anyway. Am I in the way again? Just check. No. You forget that you're colouring with a camera there and people need to be able to see. So I'm going around this paler blue here so that I don't lose it completely. And just underneath it, and then I think I'm going to stop because I think I'm going to take that ultramarine light, which is the base layer of the darker colour, and use that just here where it's quite dark but not quite the shadow dark. Just to add some warmth to this blue. So it will require some more layers after, but as long as you've got where your colours are, that's fine. I'm going to bring that cerulean blue back over and blend that into that darker blue a little. you will quickly see that you'll get about 3 or 4 layers on this paper maximum, and that's with a very light coat each time. The minute you've popped a thicker layer of wax on this paper, you're done. So it does require a bit more care. Right, we'll go back to that cypress green, just to patch back in around some of this. We're essentially working out the what would be white patches if it wasn't dyed grey from the printer, just as much as we're able. If you'd prefer to see one of these pictures done in alcohol marker, just let me know. I can do that as well. Different people prefer different mediums. I can't blend for the life of me with alcohol marker though, so that won't be happening. Right, I've left this little tricky bit to last. So we want to take our dark pairing for, let's see, for our shadow. Because the grass is much lighter here, we want to be a little bit more careful about laying our pencil in between and not over it. But also because the grayscale is so dark here, we need our water to be very dark here as well. So I'm going to lay my lighter blue, that ultramarine light, over it first, so I know where it needs to be. Like I said, if you're not sure, just leave it grey. You'll work it out later as you go. And then I'm going to come in with my indigo light, the darker colour. Just going to sharpen that pencil. That is sharp. That might break, but it doesn't matter. And I'm just going to really darken this side of the page as much as it will let me. I'd even be inclined to add a black over this very lightly, just to really put that shadow back in. So when you're done, if you find it still just not dark enough, just place some black over the top. Or a very dark grey if you'd prefer not to use a black. It's up to you. Obviously a very sharp pencil when you're working in such a small space. And I'm just going to bring that down this side and work it out into these blues. So we've got a little bit of the darker blue in there, just to add some depth. It will make it look a little bit rippled for you, especially if you pop it just behind where you've popped a lighter colour. Okay, so excuse the noise of my chair. That is what we have so far. I think, because I don't want the video to be too long, but I don't really get anything done in them otherwise, I think we'll do these. I'm going to make mine, they probably should be daisies, but they never look, I never get a nice clean edge, so I'm going to make mine yellow, so they're more like dandelions, just for the sake of getting a nice flower to them. So I'm going to use a soft brown yellow ochre light 010, golden yellow deep 006, and then Naples yellow light 073 is like it's quite a cream colour. So we've got a creamy yellow and an almost brown yellow. I'm going to first start, we'll sharpen that brown yellow, because these are nice small details, you don't want a blunt pencil for this bit. I'm going to start with the darker colour and just do these little buds to them first. And then I'm going to take my, I think I'm probably going to take the darker brown, actually, the yellow ochre light, and I'm going to pop a little bit of that for each petal right in the middle, just to create that slightly darker centre. And then I'm going to lay down that Naples yellow light, the quite pale cream colour. Being slightly careful here, it can be confusing. We've got a little leaf in the water there, and if you prefer, you can always colour that first, if you need to get it out of your way. To be a little bit careful not to draw the blue into your yellow, like I have. There we go. Helped you already. Don't do that. And then my warmer yellow tone, golden yellow deep. Just get rid of some of that. And I'm going to pop that lightly over the top. But not all the way to the edges. Just to give it some yellow. And it will keep those kind of cream tips then for you. There we go. That is that bit. I think we've probably got enough time just to do these little floating leaves, and then we'll call it for today. So just going over with my very bright leaf green light, especially in this little patch of light here. Picking out the little leaves floating on the water. Again, trying not to drag the blue into the green. And then I'm going to take my dark green, the viridian, for the ones over here that are in shadow. To put that over the top. Really darken that up so they blend in to the page. They're still green, you'll still notice them. I'm going to pop a little bit of the darker green on the edges of these that are ever so slightly shadowed under here. And then we'll take that kind of medium warmer green just to add a little bit of detail, just kind of coming in one side, just to give these leaves a little bit of depth and different greens for interest. And that is that. Okay, I hope you found that interesting and even maybe a little bit useful. I will do some more in a part 2 of the house and the mushrooms, and hopefully even maybe the sky. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and that is the Castle Art pencils in Corlon Douglas's Dream World, published by Black River Arts, and a nice dark grey grayscale for you to try. That's very inexpensive. They're really cheap, these books. That is of course reflected with the Amazon paper, but let's be honest, you could get yourself some nice paper and print it out if you've got a good printer, because you'll need a good printer to really get a good copy of that. And I would definitely leave your ink to dry at least 24 hours before going over it on the page. But apart from that, I hope this was useful. Thank you very much for joining me again for another video. If you've, as always, any requests, pop them down below. I'm always happy to do any other videos you'd prefer to see. If you liked my video, please like it, and if you like the channel, please subscribe. Thank you.